Hello, everybody. As you have probably seen on my Facebook page, I've been putting up lots about Ukraine blowing up Russian oil and gas infrastructure. And yes, I just finished a workout, so I know I look terrible, but this was the only time I could think of to do this. If you're wondering why it's so interesting to me, partly obviously is because of the military impact, the impact on the war, which I've been following quite closely for years. But the other reason is the United States is the largest producer of oil in the world. We're the largest exporter of refined petroleum product in the world, and we're the largest exporter of natural gas in the world. What happens to the Russian oil and gas industry has an effect on the United States. Not so much in terms of our price at the pump. We're largely insulated from that because our largest foreign supplier is Canada. And obviously we produce most of what we need right here at home. The oil market's really weird. Even though the United States produces a lot, we actually export a lot because sometimes we make more money exporting our own stuff and then importing product from Canada and some other countries as well. But here's the thing with the Ukraine attacks. If the Ukrainians are able to destroy enough Russian refining, actually, I'm sorry, let me back up. As the Ukrainians have been destroying Russian refining capacity, the Russians are having a problem with an oversupply of crude. They have a bunch of crude, they can't refine it. They can't turn it into gasoline or diesel or jet fuel or kerosene or whatever. So what they've been trying to do is up exports. They're using their shadow fleet, trying to get more out. The Ukrainians hit Primorsk, which is Russia's primary Baltic export port. They brought oil flows there down by about 50%. That's a week ago. I do not know what the repair timeline looks like. Today, they hit Novorossiysk, and they specifically hit a oil loading pier at, was it Tops or Tulops? I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. But if Novorossiysk and Primorsk both go offline, or even are just substantially reduced, between an inability to export oil and an inability to refine oil into refined product that can then be used by end consumers, their overabundance of crude becomes a real problem, and here's why. Russia has limited storage capacity for crude. The storage capacity they have, a little bit of it's already been blown up by the Ukrainians, but more importantly, it's already building up and getting full. When that gets too full, they have no choice but to shut in the wellheads. Now, once they shut in the wellheads, winter is going to hit. So think about December's a couple of months away. If they're shutting in wells around December, January, February, that means the wells are going to freeze. Oil, when it freezes, expands, which means it destroys the wells. This happened in the dying days of the Soviet Union in the early 90s. It took the Russians almost 30 years to repair the damage. They were only able to repair the damage because they had companies like Exxon and Dutch and BP, as well as oil service firms such as Halliburton, Schlumberger, and Baker Hughes, who could come in and do the work. The Russians don't have the technology or the equipment to do it themselves. So if the Ukrainians can keep up the pressure for another couple of months and get into winter and basically build up enough excess inventory in the Russian oil system, then the Russians will have to shut in wellheads. And when they do that over the winter, they are going to lose those wells permanently. And that is the end of the Russian oil industry, which means that is the end of the Russian economy as we know it. If you are the Ukrainians, by the way, the last thing in the world you want right now is a peace agreement. You want to hammer the Russian oil and gas industry as much as you can, because if you break it, and right now it looks like they might just do that, if you break it, then by the time Russia could even theoretically have it back online enough to be able to afford a second war with Ukraine, their demographics will be so bad, they will not have the manpower at all to launch such a war. In other words, Ukraine has the opportunity to secure themselves from Russian invasion permanently. You have to remember, the Russian people are doomed. They're dying. They're going to go away before the end of this century. Russia will not hold the Russian space by 2100. Russia will be divided up by other countries, China and God only knows who else. China's going to take big chunks of Siberia and stuff like that eventually. China's going to die out too, but they're going to die out after Russia does. But the point of all this comes back to is that the United States has the chance to move into a lot of market share that is going to ultimately be abandoned by the Russians because they won't give up this stupid war, and the Ukrainians are going to burn down their whole oil industry. So the American oil and gas sector, assuming the Ukrainians can keep up the pressure and the Russians don't find some way of stopping it, wow, talk about a boom time. Now, where it gets really interesting is part of a deal between Paul Ryan and Barack Obama back in 2014 that allowed for the export of crude oil from the United States. the President of the United States can, by executive order, ban all crude oil exports. So don't worry too much about the price blowing up at the pump here, but although I don't think we're going to get to that point. But the point is that the American oil and gas sector is probably waving Ukrainian flags like crazy right now, because there's going to be a lot of market share available for them to gobble up soon if this keeps up. Bye-bye.